Greetings everyone, here's Lodrik and this is our game War in the Pacific Admits Edition in our match against Dojo. This is now the setup turn or the after action summary, and yeah, let's see again what happened last time. The big event was maybe the Battle of Fiji Islands with the first carrier fleet here. The first carrier fleet was east of Suva and Soma Islands, or west of Soma Islands, and my main goal was normally to attack Suva and carry or cover most of this area between this Source Island change, the east, because normally many allies players use this bases for resupply bases and will normally fortify this island change strongly. So means there's of course a risk that you get intercepted, but so early in the game, it's 1st January 1942, maybe in April or in June the situation will be here much more different. So maybe Dojo have here already radar equipment, a lot of dive bombers, long range Catalina scout planes, so you can still do a similar surprise strike with the carrier fleet, but the risk will be more higher. So, but this early in the game, I just was my thinking was that the Dojo cannot prepare so much equipment here so fast, especially because he's normally more safe defense player, so he will not go in with everything. So far we never saw his carrier in action. I never saw any of his cruiser or battleship fleets in action. I really remember he ever tried to hit me. I mean, this Rangoon action, and the Rangoon battle was, I mean, he outnumbered us, but with our superior training and tactics, it was possible for one of our heavy cruiser task forces to bloody his nose, and our second carrier fleet more or less sunk most of his ships to the bottom of the ocean. So it was at the end a successful operation for us, and I think it also breaks Dojo's desire to really strike early back. So we normally better use this next 2-3 months, I think this we have maybe still, to inflict more damage, to weaken his morale and drive him back. And this was one of the, and this operation, this second carrier strike east of Australia, the main purpose is more or less again to disrupt his organization, to bring fear back to his heart, or at least make sure that he never feels safe somewhere, at least not in this area of Australia. Yeah, and also try hopefully to sink something with value. We sunk a lot of cargo ships, a lot of low level point ships. None of them are really important for the battle, but they are the moving parts of every war. If you have only battleships left, but you have no tanker, no supply ships, then even the mightiest battleship will more or less stop working and stay only in the port. And so we maybe not sunk something really critical, but we sunk so many ships that maybe sooner or later this will show some effect on the supply chain for Dojo. Anyway, so our carrier fleet arrives here east of Fiji, and we strike her hard and without mercy. You also can see here that we lost nearly nothing. Our carrier fleets are more or less still ready. We have still some torpedoes and a lot of sorties. And you can see here the squadrons are full. Oops, wrong direction. So it's more or less, it was for us a easygoing strike so far. I mean, this is maybe often with carrier. Carrier forces have often only they strike very strong, but they are also weak against counter strikes. If at the end Dojo need only 1 or 2 dive bombers penetrate our defense and hit the right spot on a carrier, and the Japanese carriers are really, they don't have really the ability to survive heavy damage. And especially, I mean, and you must think about, we are here now at Fiji. Dojo have still some ports nearby to stop the flooding and firefighting and all this stuff. We still must go back to Truk. So the distance is far. Even Rabur is first not ready, because we need at least a port 4 or more to fix damage and bring here a lot of repair equipment. Normally, this is the real big disadvantage is a capital ship, heavy cruiser, battleship, carrier. If they have major damage, normally you must always go back to Japan. You can also go back to Singapore or Hong Kong, but the distance is from Fiji more or less the same. If you go Singapore or Tokyo, that is the same. So, and then you better go to Tokyo, because Tokyo have much more shipyard capacity. I mean Japan, not Tokyo directly, but so, and if Dojo have some critical damage, he can try to patch up nearby, and then he bring his ship to Sydney or Melbourne. I don't know, Melbourne have a shipyard? Not. Yeah, repair shipyard 11. So they only can carry up to 11,000 tons, but you can normally build up this shipyard and maybe make a 35 out of this, or even a 40. A 40 is normally enough for fixing every ship. I mean, only one ship, one by one. You can also bring it to Sydney. Sydney is already 31. Maybe the problem or the risk is, if you bring a ship to Sydney, it's easy to come, maybe pass by Brisbane and Noumea, try to come here nearby and then make a strike attack. I mean, with carrier fleet. So Sydney is maybe a little, it's not so safe for him. If I'm the Australian, the ally player, I think, I think Melbourne is the best. The problem is, in the game, you can increase and expand every factory you want, but you can never build a new one. So if there is, if a city have a shipyard size of 1, you can make out of this a 100. But if a base have nothing, like Porta Augusta, there is no shipyard. It means it's also not possible to build any shipyard. This is a game. I mean, this is a game problem. This game is not perfect, for sure, and I think the development team at some point they must make compromise, and they skip this heavy infrastructure development stuff. So you cannot build any road, you cannot build any railway, you cannot build new factories, you can only increase factories. So there is some limitation. If there's ever a war in the Pacific too, I hope they have something like in the war in the East too, that you can repair something, that you also maybe can something, that you blow up something, or you can build something, and a little more infrastructure. Here, I mean, this game have already a lot of supply and infrastructure stuff, but I would say it is still, it's for sure not perfect, and I would ask for more, not for less, but my personal opinion. So our carrier fleet make a first strike, and the setup is like that. We now removing source of Suva, that we more or less be in a position that we hopefully, this fleet, this is now Dojo's choice. He can go hard source east. I don't know if he can go everywhere, of course. If you only try to run away, then our carriers, then our carriers more or less, if they end up here at the end of the first day, they normally can still strike the fleet, especially if there's any ship damage and with slow speed. If Dojo go hard to east, then we miss maybe each other. If we go north, southwest, west, normally every direction, only maybe southeast. Southeast is maybe the only direction he maybe can escape, depending of course on his speed. There's also other problem, because this is a 2-day turn match. It is hard to use full speed. It's because if I go now for full speed, then I easily miss something, and I must always keep in mind that there's a second day. So more or less I go now with normal speed, be here in the roughly source of Suva, make one strike here, then we are in range of this area, roughly 7 to each direction. Suva for sure, maybe also this islands. If we try to escape here, we stay here, we can still reach this mini port. Oya is maybe not more in range, but if we go full speed, then we are already here. Then we are in the middle of the ocean for nowhere. So, but this is also a dangerous area. I still don't know where is Dojo's carriers. He maybe have also some battleships left or some heavy cruiser formations, and I use my carrier fleet very lightly. We really have only, the main purpose are the carriers and one heavy and one light cruiser, and the rest is only anti-submarine stuff. So we really don't want to run in something surface engagement. What is stronger than light cruisers? A heavy cruiser can be already a match. Maybe we can still at least hold the line against a heavy cruiser, but a heavy cruiser must only make a lucky hit on one of our heavy carriers, fleet carriers. This can end badly, not so happy for us. And again, it's really hard for the Japanese to replace any capital ships. Ships are lost. So destroyers, submarines, and cargo is okay. Light cruisers are maybe not so really important in this game. I mean, I use them always for this destroyer formations to be a lead ship, like we have it here. 1 or 2 light cruisers plus a bunch of destroyers. The light cruisers have scout planes, and they also have more range. They can bring the task force more far away with still very high speed. It's I think the best you can make out of destroyers, if you don't use the destroyers only for convoy duty or pure anti-submarine stuff, this is, I think, still the best setup. You can create a lot of task forces if you always use 2 heavy units plus 4 or 6 support destroyers. But this is really purely, everyone can decide if you go for less heavy task forces or many smaller task forces. But less than this, I think, is also risky. If you have only 1 cruiser and 2 destroyers, and of course you can have a lot of task forces, but each task force is so weak. Yeah, okay. So, and yeah, this is more or less the hope. We can finish what is left in Suva, because we still see there is something, whatever, it's only 1 ship. And here's also something, maybe we can, troop transport and some PGs or some patrol craft. I don't know if it's really value, but we saw there was some ships escaped, and we tried to clean up here, but I also don't want to stay here and search too much. Normally I can also make a turn like this and go back and then try to intercept everything. This is also an option, but I choose at the end this way to try to finish this task and the Suva equipment, go south of Nomaya and more or less be out of range of Nomaya, so that he maybe don't know where I am, and then I try to make a surprise strike in Sydney and Brisbane. We will attack the air. Normally, if the weather is, I mean, of course, let's hope we have good weather, and then we really can make a strike. And then we can normally attack port and airport of Sydney and Brisbane, and also I sweep the 2 cities, because maybe Dojo already have some fighter interceptor here in place, because I don't know more exactly, but some, I think maybe first in end of January or mid-January, I think Dojo gets the first reinforcements for the Australian Air Force. So we will see. If we're lucky, we can find here something we can kill, and I don't expect too much. Of course, the other option is also go to New Zealand, but this is really we are dangerous. The consumption of gasoline or of fuel is always a critical part. I don't use any oil and no support ship, so I really don't want to go even more fast. New Zealand is simply too far away for me so far. This New Caledonian, Fiji is for me the maximum range I want to operate. And then we go only back and maybe make a port strike or make an air strike against Port Moresby at the end before we can go back to Truk or Rabaul. Yeah. And because we talk about this this engagement, let's see again what happened. This was the last turn. We make 8 kills and lost 3, 1 by flak, and the operation losses are 6-6. So Dojo lost 14 airplanes, we lost 10 airplanes, and important is we kill 14 enemies, 7 buffaloes and 7 flying tigers, so 14 of Dojo's fighter. We lost 5 own army fighters, the Oscars 1C, and these are light bomber, medium bomber. There's also light bomber. This is a scout plane. Dojo lost a scout plane, a Catalina, and this is, I think, also a light bomber or a medium bomber. So it's very standard, I would say. We kill a little more. We lost, you can see, we killed 651 we lost 369, and so 14 to 10 is, I think, a very typical turn for us so far. And out of our 10 planes we lost, we missed 3 pilots, so we know they're jumping out of the airplane, but they are missing in action. And 2 pilots was not able to jump out of the airplane. They are official dead. And dead is dead, cannot come back. These guys can come back, but the chance is low. So we lost in total 5 pilots. This is, 5. I think this is also normal. We lost 10 airplanes, but only 5 pilots. So 50% of these 10 lost airplanes can enter the replacement airplane and fight another day. So not so bad. I think this is very normal. I think roughly we lost 370 airframes, and we lost roughly, let's say, 200 pilots. So you can roughly say you lost, if you lose 50% of the airplanes and pilots. Of course, the factor is, if you defend your own airspace and you fight in your own airspace, if I attack his, like now, maybe we attack Sydney, all our pilots just shut down and Sydney are lost. There's no way that they can come back. But if Dojo defend his Sydney area and his pilots are jumping out, then he will not have many missing pilots. Normally he have only wounded and killed, and we have both. We have wounded, killed, and missing pilots, because you will have missing pilots if you fight. If you attack, you will have a lot of missing pilots. So it will it costs you more to strike. That is, for sure. And the enemy also have flak. So not only you must fight with the pilot, you must also try to avoid the flak shells. Okay, so this is roughly the situation of the first carrier fleet. So far, our most important tool to break the American-Australian fleet formation. The carrier fleet 1 will be more or less also here always in the area of Australia. This is the backbone of my Australian campaign. The first carrier fleet. We also have here 1 battle fleet, and I think 1 or 2 cruiser fleets. And the second carrier fleet will normally take care of the British Navy around in the Indian Ocean. So, and this only because we talk about this is the destroyer formation. They're running very low on the fuel already, so they have really no choice more. They must go back. They go back to Rabaul. I'm just in the stage to create this outpost or this new main navy base of Rabaul. You can see you can bring this airfield up to a 9 and the port up to 7. We need normally only 7.7. This is normally enough. But the 7.7 I won't have here, but I bring already 112 engineers here, and still the construction is it needs all time. We have a lot of supplies, but so far I was not able to bring any fuel here. So I only try to bring in more engineers, more supply, and build up this base, because I need Rabaul before I really can strike for Port Moresby. Of course, it is possible now to board the ships again and go immediately for Port Moresby, but it is a question of how much you want to risk. And I say at least I won't have here at least a port of 4, airfield of 4, and scout planes, some fighters, some torpedo bombers, that at least that I can have at least a minimum air cover and scout abilities to see what is here. I don't expect that Dojo will now go berserker mode and try to sink everything, but maybe he has this. I mean, somewhere Dojo must draw a line and say, "Here's a line." If and maybe Dojo makes the line already here. He say, "Okay, I can give you a bull, I can give you a short lens, but I will defend Tulagi and I will defend Port Moresby." I don't know. So I only play this game with the mind of strike hard, strike with knowledge, strike with a tactical view and a strategic view. Not only go somewhere and say, okay, I go everywhere and I only want to make firework. No, normally there's always some purpose behind, sometimes more, sometimes less, sometimes only try to keep Dojo busy, sometimes to lure him somewhere away or whittle down his forces. And in this case, I say Rabul first, end of the month, Port Moresby. Also, I normally must have this carrier, the first carrier fleet back. So we finish this operation, refuel and rearm and truck, and if the first carrier fleet is back here, so I think end of the month, then we go. And end of the month I also be ready here. I can make scout plane, I can make here long range cap. It was my zero fighters, they can stay over Port Moresby, and I can use torpedo bombers and all kind of equipment to make sure that we take Port Moresby without any very strong resistance. We also have here some submarines already in place, and so if Dojo try to bring a lot of equipment here, then at least we let him suffer. And I mean, of course he can try to bring now a lot of stuff here inside, but we will at least sink some equipment on his way. And everything what we bring to Port Moresby is maybe at the end still in range of my airbase from Rabul. It's 11. This is just the range of a zero fighter with drop tanks. You can always see this. The normal range is 7 to 9, but the extended range I would always say this is really only emergency. So always calculate with the normal range. But don't forget that you always have this drop tank. So you give the airplane a drop tank. Of course, this will consume double supplies. Or in a carrier fleet, it will consume double sortie points. So if a zero fighter go out and make a escort or a sweep with normal range, it will consume one airplane, one sortie. If you use drop tanks, then one plane, one mission, use 2 sorties. But it's very... Normally I always run out of torpedoes and out of fuel before I running out of sorties. That is not so. And I think sorties is only consumed by really actions, like you make a strike, or you make a sweep, or escort duty. Not for, so far I know, not for cap. I don't know with long range cap. Is a long range cap, I don't know. No training is for sure not a sortie. I think cap is not a sortie because it's all nearby. It's not really long distance. And I think also scouting is maybe not. But scouting I don't know. But at least not cap, not training. These are not sorties. Okay. So, and I have here some submarines and still try to... I mean, if we are lucky, we always can catch something, but here is not really much happening. Okay, well, because we talked about this action last time, of course, it shows this already, but we can see it again. This is last turn. The Japanese lost nothing. Hurrah! Dojo lost based on the information we got. This is Fog of War. So we kill. This is a nice, not too fat, but a good, 4,300 troop, high speed. This is one of the better, not the best, but one of the better troop transport. And I think the point is that at the beginning, the first 6 months, maybe 12 months, the Allies, they don't have so many troop transport ships. Later, I think in 43, mid of 43, I don't know, maybe every day Dojo get here one of these ships. But now we can say we sunk not only one, we sunk also, I think, 2 of this kind of ships. They are sister ships, so they're equal. You can see only 1,300, so it's only 3 points more, but they're much more troop capacity. So I don't know, and it's also, the speed is 22, and this is only speed of 17, so I don't know. Normally I would say, if I see the points, I would say this is only a little better, but if you see the real value behind this, but this is a game. Don't ask me, the points are sometimes a little strange, why some ships are have very high point value, but the use of a ship is very, I don't know, limited. And you can also see that looks like there was some collision, and I cannot remember. But maybe, of course, this was an airstrike, and the Dojo ships try to escape, but and then they make a mistake and they kick each other, and then the ship gets additional damage and sunk. Or this was already, the ship was sunk so much, and then only a little small touch, and the ship go down. So this is the last impact on the ship. And this is a 1,500. At the end, the old troop transport, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 troop transport. I think this is very nice, and they was loaded, so not only the ships are lost, also the troops on board are lost. And we killed 2 of his not so great destroyers, but I think this is similar to what the Japanese have. Standard speed, standard anti-submarine stuff, and no radar. A little slower, but similar equipment. So nothing really too crazy. But everything was Dojo lost, he cannot use against us. So I would say this is not bad. And you can see that the counter is already over 3,000 to 50 in army lost points. So this is I think a good number. Also the ship points, Dojo lost 1,857 points so far, and we only 133, so far looks really good. And also the air war is, of course the air war is not crazy, we cannot kill him 10 to 1, but at least we must kill him 1 to 1. This is a minimum. If we have a more worse ratio, I think then we will run into some problems, especially in 43. In 42 we can in 42 we normally must kill him better than 1 to 1. In 43 I would say 1 to 1 is still okay, and in 44 I don't know, depending on how good is our technology at that point. And I think we saw it already last time. Our aces are not really changing. So far still only 1 ace is active. The rest are all in training school. Because this was we kill navy equipment, but there's not much enemy fighters we can kill. The air war cooled down a little. I mean, only in Burma we have now the new air war, but I think this also will soon cool down. I don't know how much Dojo will invest there. So this is Australia front. We're still moving here equipment and basement stuff forward, backward. The game starts very strange, and these ports are all very small, and loading and unloading still needs time, and I move a lot of stuff to Truk, from Truk back, and from Truk to Rabaul, and also from Taiwan a lot to Rabaul. From Japan a lot of stuff comes to Truk, because Truk is also not finished. At the beginning of the game we have the problem that Truk is not ready normally. Truk need to be a port 7. So you must build up Truk. So a lot of engineering stuff also I bring to Truk at the beginning. And we also have this base is totally not really prepared for war. I also had to bring here a lot of engineers. We also need here at least airfield level 7 and a port at least level 4, but we can here make a 5. I would say I make a 5. You need the capacity. This port 3 only can handle 24,000 tons. This is too small for a real task force. Now we still can make amphibious transportation, because we can have still the bonus up to April. So we can still avoid some stuff. This is for loading troops and unloading troops. But for cargo shipping and all the fuel shipping, supply shipping, you really need the ships be docked, or it needs long time. And this slow down the whole process. You need longer to unload your supplies. You need longer to resupply your army units, your air force, your ships. Then your ships need also fuel, and every port have only some. You have this, the rearm points also increasing with the port capacity. So this is the reason a bigger port can always handle more ships and faster. All this stuff, and also repair, blah blah blah. But ports are expensive. Airports, it's still not so big trouble to bring them up, but a port I would always think twice before you really try to make everywhere the maximum. The Americans say maybe we can go everywhere with maximum, but with the Japanese, you really better focus where you really need a port, then bring the port up and bring enough supplies in. Okay, so yeah, and we're picking up here now the bases one by one, and here's some oil. It's also oil, so but they are not crazy important. I would only conquer them. Make sure that everything is repaired, that nothing is damaged. Maybe you can keep here a small task force, but I don't think that anyone will really battle for this kind of bases. 21 oil or 26 oil is at the end nothing really too crazy. Similar to the small islands. Nauru and Ocean Islands, they are, yeah, here you have in total 100 resources. This is okay. This one is only 20. And resources, I always have here only some small cargo ships. I always collect their resources here and bring them to Truk. And if I have in Truk like 25, maybe 50,000, or even first if I have 100,000 resources here, then I will create one big cargo fleet and ship all the resources back to Japan. So maybe once per month. This is a more or less ongoing cargo shipping, so they're coming, going, to Truk, but the link from Truk to Japan is, I think, once per month is enough. And if it's really empty, I think maybe one more turn, and then I can first also stop this operation. And then I wait that here is maybe 20-30,000 again, and then I can start the operation again. There is first, a ship is not full, make no sense to operate, because every ship still consumes fuel. So if I cannot fill up the cargo ship, then why I won't run it? And keep the cargo ship here on standby is too risky, because of course he can come with submarines or cruisers or even carrier fleet and sink them more. He has no defense, he has really no scout, he cannot so far. So far this is, let's say, open ocean and no one really control it. I'm the owner, but I have here also nothing. I also will not bring here something. This is not important enough for me. I will go shortland into Lodrik. And if we have this, then we can go for Nomaya. Or we can also go for Fiji and this island. This is the big step. I don't know. I don't need this. This is nothing. They are small. That's what I want with this. You can make a port here, but the airport is... I mean, they can make a port 3 out of this, and the airfield 3. This is 2. And also, there are no... Here you can see the troop capacity is limited to 6,000. So, no. Okay. And what we have in Truk. Maybe some people are interested in what we have in Truk. We have here 2 battleships, 3 cruisers, some destroyers, you can see, and other stuff. Here's just a little under repair. You can see we fixing the submarine, the battleship. These are system damage. Any journey, and longer journey, automatically will add up the system damage. So if you run the ship one complete fuel, if you run or empty the fuel tanks of the battleship, so I don't know, you can see, then it will automatically give trouble to the system damage. Like, this is standard maintenance. After some time, every machine, every equipment need maintenance. If you don't do maintenance, then the system damage will increase. And so this is more like less than the maintenance damage. So this is we repair the battleships. So in 2 turns we have the units back both, because I wait that both are done. It makes no sense to go out with 1 battleship. This is or the distance or the difference in repair days are too small to rush out with 1 battleship. And no. And the submarine here have still major damage, but we can fix this with a repair ship. We have here the dock. Don't forget this. We have we have here the repair dock ship. So this ship can dock everything less than 3,000 tons and can fix, then it's like a dock, so you can really fix everything. And we have also special repair ships. I think we must touch this, yeah. Right here. Auxiliary repair. Especially to fix other stuff. But for smaller ships, so not too big ship stuff. So this means more or less that our battleship division is still under repair, and our we have here also 2 light cruisers. This 18-speed light cruiser is normally only a I would say it's too risky to use this in the open ocean. It's too small. If it's really must run away, it cannot run away. So I would normally say it's good for harbor defense. You can put it in some like in Truk, or maybe later I will bring it to the east and keep it in the port, only to have something to protect against a strike. Of course, the risk is that Dojo can make an airstrike. But for this normally you need Air Force. Oops. Oh, this. Oops, here. Normally we have the long range patrols. They're just in training. Normally I always change them, one turn training or then one turn scouting. So that I normally, if Dojo don't will go for full speed and full risk mode, I can normally have enough range to intercept his incoming forces. But this is so this is Truk. Not much more to say. We still try to finish the construction of the port. If this is done, we bring all the engineers to Rabaul. And if we are more or less done with Rabaul, we will go for a short land in Tulagi and at the same time Port Moresby. But Port Moresby, I would say make a 4-4 out of it. Port 4, Airport 4. At the end, if you come with your submarines from Rabaul or from Port Moresby, I think it's more or less the same. Or Tulagi. Tulagi, I would also say 4-4. The distance to Australia, yeah. Most important is normally to really close this shipping way, that Dojo cannot bring any shipping through the east coast of Australia. I mean, it's already super risky from Rabaul. We still have Cook is 20. Normally with Nell bombers, you have a range up to 21. So, and this is only 17. So with a Betty, you can already reach this direction, this location. So already, if you have a good air force and air base in Rabaul, you can already close this. Port Moresby is only to, make it even more close and nearly impossible for him to operate anything here. Only submarines. Of course, he can still operate with submarines here. Submarines you will maybe always miss. But you can, of course, install here some submarine hunters, and at least if you don't go here at the coast, maybe you can. It's a 8. It's just in range. Yeah, we will see. I really don't know if Dojo will use this for submarines. Maybe, I don't know. Yeah, here we still have our submarine base. This is more or less only a submarine base. I don't operate here anything else. Only all submarines going to Pearl Harbor and the coast of California is operating from this base and nothing more. Scout planes and submarines and nothing more. Everything what is Air Force we have here. Everything what is Navy we have here. And also some repair and equipment stuff, so only to fix the submarines. The real heavy stuff is all in Truk, Rabaul, and then going down to Lage, Normaya. Yeah. We prepare also the invasion of Guam now. I just had enough equipment ready because we was busy in the Philippines and Malaya, and Guam is not important at all. Some people will maybe argue that you can say Guam is better than Saipan. Saipan have a 1 in 4 port 1, 4 and the airport 4. And Guam is 2 and 5. Yeah, it's better. But first I have already everything in Saipan, and I can still make here airport 4, airport 7, and the difference between 7 and 8 is, I think this is nothing. And the port 4 is also enough. If I have a port 4 or 5, it's not a big change more. So I would say, no, I stay with Saipan, and that is enough. Especially because I have this heavy coast guns, and they are fixed installation, they are static, I cannot move them. So, and I don't have this in Guam. So I only take the base and say nice to have, and that's all. And Guam have also no value normally. I mean, they have value for the Americans, yeah, because it's an American island, but for the Japanese, no real value, and there's no industry, and there's no resources. So I must take it, but that is all. Don't care. Yeah. More we don't have here. I also only concentrate for Shishijima, because he is Iwo Jima, much more famous, yeah, for sure. I really don't know. I must check this. Why the Japanese later make a Iwo Jima for big base? Because it's a port 1, airport 1. And Shishijima is port 1, airport 0. Ah, okay. Ah, yeah, okay. And this maybe explains this. Because you can only make an airport 3 here, but not an airport 4. And I think the 4 engine bombers, the B-70s and B-24, they need at least a airport 4 to operate with normal load. And this I think was the reason, because the first American long distance bombers, the B-17 and B-17, B-24 bombers, I think only B-17 bombers, they can operate from Iwo Jima to bomb Tokyo. And this was then too small. But later, after the Americans, they took Okinawa. Then they also can use, I think, the long distance, they have much bigger B-24 bombers to attack the south of Japan and Osaka and all the other stuff. So the distance from Iwo Jima to Tokyo is 17. And from here you can make a much bigger airfield, and I think maybe, oops, what? Is this even bigger? Yeah. Here you can make a really big airfield. You can make it 8 or 7. And this distance to Tokyo is a little more far, but I think the point is that you can attack all the source of Japan. And you have a much bigger airport here. So, yeah, the distance for a long distance bomber, I think at the end it's more important that you have the big runways and the maintenance equipment and all this stuff. The distance is not more the big point here. Okay. Means more or less, if the Americans take Iwo Jima, but latest if they take Okinawa, they will bomb you into oblivion, and then it's over. Especially if it's 45 and the atomic bomb is available in July or August, I think something like this. Yeah, and in China, in China we're still hunting Dojo's forces, and we're on the way now to Xi'an. So we need 2 turns to arrive in Xi'an. 1 move, and then we will switch to combat mode, and then we will attack. So 2 turns, we have the Battle of Xi'an. And we're also moving some forces west of Nanyang to kill this army. We bring this army around to kill this. smaller, or I don't know, I think it's a smaller army. Yeah, not much more. We still try to catch this running Chinese Dojo forces. We still try to bring up more Mongolian army here to attack, but this needs a long time. We sweeping and still killing a little here, killing there, but it's not really much resistance of Dojo. Most of the time our forces are just bombing, and our fighters are now in rest mode. Last time we make an attack. After one attack I make 1 day training. Training is more or less also like rest. You can go full shutdown, then they rest better and more, but training is more like a half day off and half day getting experience some skill points or experience. So normally I go for training if the fatigue is not over 20. If the fatigue is over 20, I better make a stand down. If it's less, like here with 14, I say 1 day training. In Singapore, we are more or less soon ready. We only waiting this unit still must unpack, and so everyone is resting 1 day more. So next turn we are ready to move into Singapore. So next turn we will start to move. Next turn we will arrive in Singapore. And if we are lucky we can take Singapore in the first attempt. But normally it needs 2 or 3 battles. I think similar to Manila. I think in Manila we had 3 battles. And I would say maybe Singapore is the same. Sometimes you're lucky, but sometimes you're also unlucky. In average I would say 3 battles, maybe. What is coming next is also the invasion fleet is on the way. Balik Papan. So next turn we go nearby, and then one turn. So next turn we also make the assault on Balik Papan. The biggest enemy are the mines. I think the game starts here with 100 or 200 mines or even more. So I bring some minesweepers with me, and I also have here additional local short distance minesweeper, only to get rid of the mines as soon as possible. If we are lucky we hit no mine, and they also have some guns, so I need the battleships to suppress the enemy fire. I need sub-hunters to make sure that there are no shitty submarines. Because this is shallow water, the sub-hunters are normally very effective in shallow water, but nearly no effect in deep water. Yeah. And the rest is a lot of equipment. All these 4 Navy guard units will attack at the same time, so we won't take the base at the first day, more or less. We're landing, and the next turn we attack and take the base. Then we rest 1 day, and then we go for the next base. Because here's also 100 oil. So don't forget this, here's 300 and here's 100. You want both. Okay. No real change here. And not more happened here really. The rest is still, the cruisers are still in repair mode. This both the heavy cruisers and also 1 destroyer. This is from the engagement with Dojo. This is 1 heavy cruiser take all this heavy damage. I mean most of the heavy damage. They're fighting really to the end. They had no torpedoes left, no heavy. They're only using the secondary gun equipment. Normally these are anti-aircraft guns. and they're using this to fight against the Dojo's forces. So this cruiser really tried to protect his task force and save 3 out of 4 destroyers. We only lost 1 destroyer, but we killed, I think, 1 heavy cruiser and 3 light cruisers. It was a successful operation. So these 2 other destroyers are already completely fixed up. So, and the second carrier fleet is here under repair now. Also maintenance damage. We don't get any real hit. You can see there's no hit. It's only maintenance damage. So normally we must fix the damage, and after that we can start some training, because the aircrew is still not really so good, just so, around experience 50. We need normally crew of 60. But I think to rearm we need Singapore. So we normally fix the main damage, then we start training, and if Singapore is clean of mines and everything is ready, we can rearm, and then we go again for Ceylon and Colombo. And if we are lucky, we can get here some really big engagement. Because I don't know if Dojo can afford to more or less give up Ceylon. I mean, he can escape with everything. He can bring all his navy stuff and all his air force to, I don't know, Bombay and hide there. And then we bomb everything. And then I go back, and then he also come back to Ceylon and repair. And this he can do again and again and again. If this happens and he don't try to fight, and if we don't get really a real engagement, then maybe I must think about to conquer Ceylon. Because if we have, at latest if we take Ceylon, Dojo must do something. I don't think that it's possible to really operate India if the Japanese control Ceylon. If we have Ceylon, here's the end of the map. I don't know really. The distance is now here 15. So our navy bombers, they can go not 25, but maybe here to. This is 20. So we can normally go this 20, 21. This is the range of the Nell bombers with torpedo. So there's not more much space for him to operate. Then you put here some submarines, and I don't know if we really here coming up this way. The problem is you have this off map bases, and I don't know where they come out. There's no. I think this is more or less. He start in Cap Town, and then it's depending where he won't go, and then if he won't go to Bombay, maybe he drop out here. I don't know exactly. This is of course not possible for us to attack with airplanes, but the point is, if you have Ceylon and you can operate here your submarines, then you bring some submarines. Karachi and Bombay. The problem is, of course, Karachi and Bombay is this is still a big distance. From Ceylon to Bombay, this is out of range for everyone. So normally after taking Ceylon, you must take Madras. Too far in the future. Before you start with this, you must better go to take Burma. And Burma we can first attack after we take Singapore, so it's step by step and cannot change. So I normally bring all my base forces, all engineers from Hainan and Formosa, Taiwan, all this equipment. I bring it down to Rabul, Truk, Balikpapan, or I bring it down to where I really need it. So I start to empty everything in the start zone. Normally you start from Taiwan, Formosa, you start from Hainan, but now I don't need the spaces more. So I empty this. I also, you can bring a little to Manila, but once you kicked out the Americans, I think Philippines there will be no battle more. In reality, the Americans, of course, they had more or less this political pressure to take the Philippines back, because they are a dominion of the American nation. So it's American ground. We talk about honor, and Americans and honor. Oh, so. But in the game, I really don't think there's a real reason to take the Philippines back. For the Americans, it's more important, I think, normally to take Indonesia back, Java, Sumatra, because there's a lot of oil. This is more important, this area, but not the Philippines. The Philippines itself have nothing, or not much. And they normally won't take the Okinawa Islands, Iwo Jima, and also maybe Formosa. If you control this, it's impossible for the Japanese to ship anything more. The Philippines, they're also okay, but I would take for Formosa maybe first. With Formosa, you can really cancel any shipping here. Okay. What else we can say? Submarines are still on the hunt, but find nothing. Not really much activity for our submarines. Our submarines are. Not really much to think so far. The last turns. If you play the Japanese, you can always try to optimize the spaces, because there's a lot of this garrison request, and you can play this game hours and hours and hours, and always try to reduce this the gap between requested garrison and the garrison you have inside. So you will always try to minimize this the offset, that you free up more garrison, that you can normally get these units to bring somewhere else, to use to fight the Chinese or whatever. And if you really, how I would say, you can do this. I think you don't must do it, but if you really take your time and do it well, and you waste not your units to be a garrison, and you better use the armies to strike, it's much easier to defend the Chinese. And you must always keep this number here in mind. So you can always take more units out of Manchukuo, but never too many. You must always you can take some, then you must wait some turns, and you can take some more. And what you take out of Manchukuo is another question. You take the shitty units to make garrison, or you take the elite units out of Manchukuo to fight the Chinese. Think about this. This is your own choice. Normally my next step is to free up this unit here. This is one of the most important, I think. First, it's part of an army, or not only some bigger force. Sometimes you have this stuff. North Chinese Area Army. These are not corps units. These are army units, or even for the whole Chinese army stuff. They don't belong to a real army. The headquarters is a little more off. They don't get so much HQ support. So this unit, if it fights with the army, it gets the army support, it gets the corps support, it gets also the overall headquarters support, because there's a link. 3-star army, 4-star. The army is 3-star general, then there's a 4-star general, and then there's his overall headquarter, and they all give bonus, and this all adds up. So it's best to have a fighting force in an army and not in a 4-star general, or be directly part of the overall command. And this army is the experience is okay. I would say it's professional, not super crazy. What is a little special is you can always see this is not this is now a mixed brigade, but you can upgrade this unit to a division. So you can see there's still some upgrade or a greater organization possible. If you have always this white and you can click it, you can see something. You can see this is now the unit, the 10th I think independent mixed brigade. It's on map. And what is white is always the future, or a unit can be created. So you can create the 59th division, but it's now inactive because the second part will arrive in 15 days in Beijing. So in 15 days we must link up these two units in one city with the same status, means rest, combat, move mode, whatever. Then we can create out of these two units this division, and the combination is always stronger to strike. These two units independently are not so effective like the division. If you fight, if you want rest, if you want train, it's better to split the unit. Roughly, to talk roughly. Normally it's better to rest and train independently, but to fight as a combination. Okay, and like this unit, you have many other units all over China, and they are locked somehow. Like this unit is, I think, more or less the same. Also, experience is good. This is a Japanese unit. They can fight. They can kick the Chinese. But this unit is the end. You can see there is nothing bigger. This is also an independent mixed brigade, but there is no future bigger organization possible. So I would not take this unit out. I would first take the 10th and not the 5th. Here you also need a garrison. This is the point. I cannot move this unit out because I must bring first some other units here to have enough garrison. Or if you don't have the garrison, then you lose 1 point per day. And I think if the garrison is less than 50%, I don't know exactly, then also you will start to get damage. Partisan units will come and damage your port, your airfield, and all this. This 3 stuff will gets damage over time. I don't think that this. I think the installation will not get damaged, but the base equipment gets damaged. But the most important is I think you lose everyday points. So you cannot say I take all garrison units away and I don't care. You use over time too many points. So you must keep the garrison in check. Okay. I think this is first enough. Not so much happened, and most of stuff I explained already, and the situation is not changing now so much. No big battle. Most of stuff is slowly. I mean, we are only 5 weeks, maybe a little more now in the war. So we can only check industry. Maybe there's some stuff I can show. Yeah, something for the future, but not too far away future. first, sooner or later, I produce a little more Oscars. But I think roughly if we come close to 100 Oscars in stock, I will upgrade a little more airframes, but not too many more. I will stop the production of the 1C. And then I will do like this. I think I explained this already. We will go for the next upgrade. But keep in mind, you must always keep the chain. So we will first... where it is? Here. The next upgrade is 2-1. 2A, not 2-1. The Oscar T-43 2A is the next plane in the chain. So you can do this. You can go from 30 production immediately to 30 development. The only problem is now the 2A is not a real good improvement. The 1C and the 2A are too equal. Then I would really produce this airplane. So I will say, no, I don't want this unit. I go for the 2B, the next in line. We can touch this, and then we have now the 2B. Of course, this comes with a price, and the price is time. The 2A is November 42. And if you roughly, you can say you can get the airplane 6 months earlier, so maybe we can get the plane, let's say, in June 42. This airplane is first in May 43. So maybe if we're lucky, we can get this airplane first in November or end of 42. You can also go more far away, but I would say the 2B is also the last of Oscar. Because the 2B have armor and have speed improvement. But normally it's only to just keep up. You get armor and your airplane gets faster, but you have still shitty heavy machine guns and only 2 of them. So this is really the last Oscar you want to produce, and after this you stop it. There are other airplanes coming. But only to explain this again, how you will upgrade your with the Japanese, how you upgrade your airframes. That you keep this chain of production, that you if you jump immediately to the 2B, then all your industry will crash. And you must rebuild your industry. This is now a soft upgrade, and in this case, you must fix your industry first. And because, of course, there are house rules and other stuff. Sometimes the players say, no, it's not allowed to jump an airframe. You must first develop the 2A before you can develop the 2B, or like this. But in this case, I asked simply Dojo, and he say, do what you want, be as strong as possible, try to defeat me, because Dojo never lost so far. So far, Dojo always won every battle. So I think this is maybe also why he say, show me something what you can do, challenge me. And so then I say, okay, I try it. Maybe if we conquer India, if Australia fall, then maybe Dojo will say, revanche, and next time please, or make step by step. We will see. Okay. And normally similar to with the zeros. I only want to point out some stuff. Some factories are over 30 already at the start or whatever. If it's over, I mean, it's close to 34 or 30 is still, I would say it doesn't matter. But if it's 40 or especially if it's a 60, I would say to change this to R&D, it's not so big. The impact is too big or the handicap. R&D only can use 30 facilities. Every number over 30 will not have any impact more for the technology. So it's waste. Let's say everything over 30 is waste. So to change a factory with over 30 points is waste. So maybe better keep this factory running to produce zeros, or keep this Oscar factory to running the now ready Oscar airframe, and everything what is 30 you can change to something else if it's the same upgrade chain. If you want change something completely like this key 48, I don't produce this more. And also the key 21, I say I don't want to produce this more. The main reason is I don't want to consume the engines. I want stock up more engines. But I also keep first the production because I was not sure how many airplanes I will really lose. The thinking behind this, these are outdated bombers. The technology is at the end. There is nothing better coming for these two airplanes. I will go directly for the Helen. The Helen is the next generation of medium bombers for the Japanese. So I had the possibility to say, okay, I produce these bombers more and keep some stock, like with the Zeros and with the Oscars. But I don't want to produce really too many of them because I really don't want them so much. And I normally watch how Dojo is with his air war in China. And after now 5 weeks, I realize my losses on bomber numbers are so small that I normally really don't mass produce this more. What I will do is now more or less I change these factories because there's no chain for me. I can completely change this and do what I want. I would more or less say, okay, I can take now the Lily and make out of a Lily, I think a Dina 3 or a Dina 2 maybe. Better is a Dina 2 because I can change this now to Dina 2. Then it's here. We lost 30% of our factories because it's a different supply chain. It has nothing to do with the Lily bomber before. So we lost the numbers and all factories are first damaged. Then we must repair it. At the same time we can bring it up to, we make here 7 more. Oops, 7. Expand. Then it's a 30. So we will repair all this, Diana 2. And this is production. Means every factory is already ready to produce, will produce. But these are the airplanes per month. So every day you can repair one factory. So in 30 days this factory is ready with 100%. At the same time we can produce at least, let's say, 15 or something like this airframes. Not so many, but maybe. And if it's 30 and fully ready, we can change this Diana 2 to Dina 3. Because Dina 3 is the last in the line of this scout planes or recon planes. I think this one. Because this is a special one. This is a K. We want this one. This is a chain. And this is really the best army recon plane you can get. So I would say try to get this one. But you don't must try to go directly for this third generation, you better really try this. This is much faster. You can better first produce it second generation, ramp it up to 30, and then switch it to number 3. It's, I think, faster, and you get already this airplane. This airplane is already good. I would say this is so far the best airplane Army Recon you have, but the 3 is still much better. And yeah. And yeah. So you can see I bring up the 20, the 0 to 30, then I switch it. Here is the same. This is Dina 2. I will bring it to 30, then switch it. The Oscar, bring to 30, switch. This Oscar also, and switch. So always 30, and then you must choose. You run the production or you run it to R&D. This is the best efficiency. And at the same time, always try to produce more engines. And more, and more, and more. So we have now here 243 H35 engines. Still only half the way. We still need 500 to get the bonus. Once you get the bonus, your R&D is double. And only to show some R&D stuff. I think it was engines. This engine, the H60, is now at R&D 99%. So we can see the original arrival day of this engine is October 42. But latest next turn we have here 100% R&D. And in that moment you get the chance, but not the automatic, it's a chance that every turn following the R&D will set back to 0%, but the months will reduce by 1 month. So the R&D go back to 0, but here will be a September 42. And then this trigger up again, and then maybe you have the chance to get it through August, and so on, and so on, and so on. Okay, I think this is now really enough. There's always more, but we often talk about the same stuff again and again. I would say now goodbye and have a nice day. See you again. Take care. Bye bye.